Our next speaker is Mary MATURY GIBSON, who grew up in rural Indiana and in a Sicilian family that was a kind of minority group in that area. She became a nurse and moved on to environmental psychology and a Bachelor in Science of Nursing. She's written several books. She's a veteran presenter at our IA Literati. She presented her book Strawberry Fields, an autobiographical book, and she's got a third memoir, Against the Wind, which she has published recently. Mary, welcome back to IA Literati Zoom edition.
Thank you, Dominic. It's nice to be here. And I'm very excited to be speaking with all of you today. As Dominic said, my name is Mary Gibson, but my name is Maria Evelina Veronica Maturi Gibson, or you can just call me Mary Gibson. And I am here to tell you today that I have had a better life than I ever deserved. People who know me only look confused when I say that because they know that I was born the sixth child to parents who came from Sicily who were uneducated. I had problems learning. I was not pretty. I was sickly and small. I had trouble making friends and understanding the world around me. I have had major illnesses of diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer 3 times, 6 major surgeries, a failed marriage, and I had to raise 2 daughters alone. And I can still say to you today that I have had a better life than I ever deserved. My father, born in 1894, and I will repeat, he was born in 1894, married my mother, born in 1908, in an arranged marriage. They lived through World War I and the great pandemic of 1918, 1919, and 1920. And they lived through the smallpox epidemic. My father came to America in 1929, a month before the stock market crash. He lived through the Great Depression with my mother, who came in 1930. They had 6 children and lived through World War II and bought a farm. They lived through the Korean War, the Vietnam War. They survived TB, polio, pneumonia, car accidents, cancer, heart disease, and many broken bones. They survived the AIDS epidemic and the measles outbreak of 1989, and they saw the end of the Cold War. The marriage lasted 61 years until my father's death in 1990 at the age of 96. My mother died in 2000 at the age of 92. And still I can say to you today that I have had a better life than I ever deserved. You may say, why on God's good earth would you say such a thing? Well, I have survived my childhood weaknesses of poor health and figured out how to become educated. I survived a failed marriage and raised 2 very successful daughters. I went on for higher education and became the lifelong nurse practitioner, and healthcare provider my father always told me I would become for the last 55 years. I was able to serve my country in the United States Army Nurse Corps Reserves and achieved the rank of captain. And as a 3-time cancer survivor, I can say to you that I've had a better life than I ever deserved. Now in my old age, I spend my time writing about my life, my experiences, and my family. Remembering Strawberry Fields is about my life growing up on the farm to immigrant parents from Sicily. We were not welcomed or ever accepted by our neighbors. We were too different. We were foreign. We were Italians. In my book, Entrusted with Their Care, A Nurse's Story, it's about my 55-year-long career as a nurse and nurse practitioner. In my 3rd book, Against the Wind, the last in the series, is about old age, and the decisions one makes when one reflects back on their life. Are there regrets? Are there sorrows? As well as many, many cherished memories. After completing the 3 books, I can say and always will say to you that I have had a better life than I ever deserved. And I can say that because I have met all the challenges 100% of the time. And I know this because I'm still standing here to tell you that today. Like my parents before me and many of your parents and grandparents who faced great perils, we are now faced with the biggest challenge in history. We have been called upon to face it and deal with it as our ancestors had to do also. Please remember that they had fewer resources at their disposal than we have today, and yet they survived. We are merely inconvenienced, and we have much more than they ever had. So we must follow the guidelines of our experts and take up the fight for the sake of our children and our grandchildren. And by the grace of God, we will go. Thank you for listening to me today. My books are available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and my recent book that has just come out, Against the Wind, will be available in hard cover soon. In the next 2 weeks or so. It is available on the ebooks at the present time. And Stratton Press is the publisher, and they have done a wonderful job with the book, and I have been so pleased with it. I have a little poster behind me. I'll just hold up here because it's kind of down low, but this is the cover of the book. And as I say, it is available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and available from Stratton Press. Thank you so much, and I will be glad to take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mary. This is Anna. Do we have any questions from the audience? You may either ask your question by chat, or you may unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol.
Any questions from the audience before we go on?
We're saving our stories. I guess I'm muted. Okay, now I'm not. We're saving our stories. Mary presented. The memory of our story, our history is not lost, and our identity is preserved.